G'day everyone, Matt here from Marker66, and today we're doing something a little different in our video. We're not going to be cooking anything, but today is Monday, and this Friday we're heading down to New Plymouth for the King of the Mountain barbecue competition, and it's our first competition, or anyone's first competition from an ABA standpoint anyway, since March in Brewtown. So it's been about 5 months since we competed. With the 5 months off, we haven't done an incredible amount of competition stuff. In fact, in the first couple of months, we sort of stepped away from it completely because those that do compete will know that it's pretty consuming. It takes up a lot of your time and effort, and you're pouring quite a bit into it. So it's actually quite nice to have a little break, have a couple of months off, and just put that to one side. Now that 5 months is up, we're chomping at the bit and we are definitely ready to go, as I'm sure heaps of the teams are. So what we thought we'd do is we'll take you through, I guess, the typical week leading into a competition. I guess the things that we'll take you through this week would be a typical week leading in for us. Other competition teams may do it similar. They may do it completely differently. Everyone sort of operates differently in that regard, but this is just the way that we do it. So I guess the first thing is that I basically write up a bit of a list, and I've got my, you can see that. So this is how I'd kick it off. So that list is basically telling me or giving me a list of things that I'm going to do during the week, you know. So, and some of them are really obvious things, you know, like trim your meat, make up my injections, make up my sauces, go do my shopping, things like that. But I'm a big fan of lists. It's just a good way for me to trigger my memory and make sure that I don't miss anything. Once we drove an hour out of town before we realised we'd left our sauces behind. So those are the sort of things that I want to avoid, and that's why I run the list sort of scenario. So as the week goes on, we'll go through some of the stuff and you'll just see what a typical week would be for us. So the other thing that I've done today is I've got our meat out of the freezer. So I've got our brisket, we've got a Snake River farm there. That's generally what we cook at competition. And we've got a couple of pork collars there that we're going to trim up this week. So I'm just getting them out and thawing, ready for trimming. Ribs is provided in this competition, so we don't need to worry about that until we get down there. And chicken we'll do later in the week. Okay, so it's Tuesday. Yesterday we got out and did a bit of stuff. We gave the barbecues a good hose out. I generally don't clean the barbecues so much other than the grates, but always before a competition I make sure I give them a good water blast out and get any of that muck out of there. And I've started packing a little bit of stuff into the trailer as well. So today we're going to get into trimming some brisket and maybe a little pork as well. And so for those who don't compete, we're allowed to trim all our meat before a competition. What we're not allowed to do is flavour it in any way. So I can't season it or rub it. I can't inject it, I can't brine it, I can't do anything like that, but what I can do is trim it, and I do like to trim beforehand. So we're going to get into the brisket today. I'm not going to go through brisket trimming because that's a whole nother video on its own, but what I will show you is what the brisket looks like before and after, and the difference in shape and weight, just to give you a bit of an appreciation for, I guess, you know, how ruthless a competition trim can be on a brisket. So if we look down here, this is the Snake River Farm brisket. This is generally what we'll cook in a competition. And you can see there that this one here weighs just over 6.5 kilos. And I've just chucked that on the scales as well, and that's pretty accurate. Right, so there we go. And with the miracle of modern technology, we've very quickly trimmed that brisket up. So I've separated it there between the flat and the point, the flat being the larger cut. And those who haven't competed before, maybe not such common practice to separate them. Obviously the competition people, it'll be pretty normal. So you can see it's pretty ruthless, eh? And you look, I've bagged up all the offcuts here plus all the hard fat. So I'm going to backpack them and I'll put them back on the scales just out of interest to see how much we've actually trimmed off. Right, so there we go. We've got our backpacked up brisket there, and I've just put it on the scales and it's coming at 1.8 kilos. So we started off at 6.55. So that gives us 4.75 we've trimmed off. All right, so as you can see behind me, it's an absolutely cracker day here in Hamilton. I'm not sure we're going to have that much luck this weekend down in New Plymouth. I think the weather's forecast to be a bit wet, but hey, we'll just cross that bridge when we get to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flick the camera around and show you we've started packing up the trailer here, and we've got a lot of our big equipment already in. Right, so you can see, I mean, I wouldn't consider this a small trailer. I mean, it's not huge, but you can see that it does fill up quite quickly when it's got all the gear in it. And you can see we've got our barbecues, our fuel there, Cambo, tool chest, fridge, all the things that we're going to need over the weekend while we compete. Now we do run a bit of a pack list when we're competing. So what our pack list is really is just a big list of everything that we're going to need to take. And the more we compete, the more we know what we need to take, the less likely we are to forget things, but inevitably it does happen. Luckily it's a really good community. You can go around to any team, and if you've forgotten something, they'll definitely help you out. But the sorts of things that we've got in our list are like our site safety equipment, our first aid kit, fire extinguisher, consumable items, tin foil, foil trays, plastic bags, rubbish bags, rubber gloves, utensils, knives, chopping boards, all those sorts of things. Our rub sources and injections, obviously very important. We make those all up at home beforehand, but we definitely don't want to forget those. Our fuel, cleaning up equipment, dishwashing liquid and brushes. So you can see there's quite a raft of things that we need to take. And the more we compete, as a lot of teams will know, the more you learn what you can leave at home and what you need to take to get it as efficient as possible.